Welcome back, guys. Well, I've done it. I've finally had enough. Enough of watching Ollie Watkins run around like he's forgotten what a goal looks like. Enough of Morgan Rogers strolling about as if 2 points is some kind of achievement. Enough of Aston Villa ruining my weekends, both in real life and in Fantasy Premier League. So, yes, the wildcard button has been smashed. Was it planned? No. Was it part of some grand strategy? Also no. Was it fueled by sheer frustration and a very questionable amount of patience finally snapping? Absolutely. Now, I know what you're thinking. It's still early in the season, maybe I should have held it. And you're probably right. But here's the thing. If I had to watch another Villa blank while Dave from The Office brags about his spreadsheet planned transfer for Semenyo, I'd lose it. At least now, I get to reset the squad, clear out the deadwood, and start fresh before the season completely runs away from me. In today's video, I'll walk you through my full wildcard draft for Gameweek 6. We'll go player by player, talk about the big calls, and I'll give you my thoughts on why I think this is the turning point, or at least why I hope it is. Because let's be honest, I can't get much unluckier than I already have. Now, I know I'm not the only one hitting the button this week. A lot of managers out there are on wildcard for Game Week 6, so maybe it's not that surprising that I've pulled the trigger as well. While I've had a few good returns here and there, it just hasn't been merely enough. The Villa assets have completely drained my patience, and the Salah to Haaland switch, which, let's be honest, was always going to happen sooner or later, would have cost too many transfers to make without a wildcard. On top of that, Arsenal's fixture swing is right around the corner, and if there's ever a time to load up on them, it's now. So yeah, enough of being patient, enough of playing it safe, enough of clinging on to players that clearly don't want to score points. The reset button has been hit, the squad has been gutted, and we're going on the attack. In goal for the wildcard, I've gone with Nick Pope. Newcastle have been one of the most solid defensive units so far this season, and with the way my team structure is set up, he really gives me the most bang for my buck. I did weigh up a couple of other options, Raya at Arsenal and Donnarumma, who's just joined City. Both are really tempting picks, but they come in a bit more expensive, and I'm already covering those defenses with other assets. So Pope made the most sense. Yes, Newcastle maybe haven't looked quite as explosive in attack to start the season, but defensively they've been rock solid. Pope's save potential plus those clean sheet chances make him the perfect balance of value and reliability. Exactly what I want on this wildcard. Let's kick things off at the back with Mickey van de Ven. For me, he's one of the most underrated picks you can make right now. He's only 4.7 million, and when you look at what he's been doing so far, it's not just about clean sheets. Spurs under Thomas Frank look like such a well-drilled unit defensively, but Van de Ven adds that extra set-piece threat as well. He's quick, strong, and always a presence in the opposition box when corners or free kicks come in. I did take a long look at Romero. He's been racking up points as well, but the thing is, Van de Ven gives me that budget flexibility while still offering most of the same upside. At this price, he feels like a bit of a no-brainer, especially when you factor in Spurs' upcoming fixtures, which are honestly really good. If you're looking for a cheap way into a defense that looks solid, Van de Ven is probably the guy. Then we've got Gabriel from Arsenal. This is one of those picks where I had to hold my hands up and admit I made a mistake not starting with him. Arsenal are arguably the best defensive team in the league right now. They're consistent, they're disciplined, and Gabriel himself is such a huge part of that backline. On top of that, he's a massive set-piece threat. He's always popping up in dangerous positions when corners are swung in, and we've seen him grab goals in the past. The way I see it, Arsenal defenders are not just clean sheet merchants, they're always in with a chance of attacking returns, which makes them even more valuable. Getting Gabriel in on the wild card felt like a no-brainer. And to go even further, I've decided to double up with Saliba. Now, some might say doubling up on defense is a bit risky, but when it comes to Arsenal, I think it's worth it. Saliba is absolutely nailed. He's calm on the ball, and he just doesn't make mistakes. He's not as much of a set-piece threat as Gabriel, but what he gives me is security and consistency. Arsenal's fixtures going forward are really strong, so this double up gives me a good chance of hitting big clean sheet hauls. It's a defensive stack I can feel confident in week after week. If Arsenal are going to keep being as dominant at the back as they've shown, I want to be fully invested, and Gabriel plus Saliba feels like the perfect way to do that. Alright, moving into midfield now, and let's start with a guy who's quickly becoming one of my favorites, Antoine Semenyo. Honestly, what more can I even say about him at this point? He's the main man for Bournemouth, and that's exactly what you want in a budget midfielder. He's not just hanging around wide or playing a supporting role. He's right in the thick of it, always looking to get into dangerous positions and make something happen. Bournemouth as a team have been really impressive going forward this season, and Semenyo is at the heart of everything. For the price, you really can't go wrong. He's one of those players that just makes your squad tick and frees up budget for the big hitters while still having genuine hole potential. Next up is Tijani Reinders. This is one where I'm honestly just happy to have a cheap way into Manchester City's midfield. He came off last week with an assist, and while he's not going to score you a brace every other game, he's proving to be really good value. The way Pep is using him, he's always involved in the build-up, popping up in good areas, and getting minutes consistently. At this price point, it's hard to find another player in such a dominant team who can give you those steady returns. It also gives me the chance to evaluate him further without spending big, which is perfect for a balanced wildcard. Now on to the first of the new guys, Bruno Fernandes. Yep, I'm doing it again, torturing myself by picking a Manchester United asset. But hear me out. This one feels different. First of all, Palmer, who was my original target, is now a big injury doubt and might be out for a while. That opened the door for Bruno. United, despite their inconsistency, are still showing good goal threat. Bruno is nailed on for minutes. He's on penalties, and he's always heavily involved in their attack. The thing with Bruno is, even when United are bad, he somehow finds a way to pop up with points, whether it's from the spot or creating something out of nothing. For me, he's a safe, reliable pick, and sometimes that's exactly what you need on a wild card. Then we've got Mohamed Kudus at Tottenham. Now this one is definitely more of a punt. Kudus is one of those players who seems to terrorize defenses game after game, but then in the final third, he doesn't always put the finishing touch on it. He's electric to watch, pace, dribbling, creativity, he's got it all, but it hasn't fully translated into FPL points yet. That being said, with Spurs fixtures looking really strong, I feel like it's the right time to take a gamble. If he can turn those dangerous performances into goals and assists, he could end up being a massive differential. I've been patient up until now, but this wildcard is about being more aggressive, and Kudus fits that perfectly. Finally, let's talk about Iliman Ndiaye from Everton. Honestly, I really like this pick. He's been looking sharp all season, and what stands out most is that he's on penalties, which is always a huge bonus. He's clever with his movement, he's clinical when the chances come, and the best part is, whenever Everton creates something, Ndiaye always seems to be involved. At 6.5 million, he offers great value because there really aren't that many standout options in this price range. He's not the cheapest, but I don't really want to go cheaper in midfield. Now, let's move on to the forward line, and first up is Richarlison. This one is definitely a punt, I'll admit it, but sometimes you need to take those swings to climb in rank. He's looked sharp when he's played, and with Tottenham's fixtures looking so good over the next few weeks, I think this could be a gamble that pays off. The only real worry here is Solanke coming back from injury, because that could shuffle things around in attack. But the positive with Richarlison is that he's versatile. He can play up front, through the middle, but he can also operate on the wings. So his minutes shouldn't completely vanish. At the end of the day, this pick is me being a bit more aggressive. I've played it too safe in the opening weeks, and now I want to put myself in a position to benefit from Spurs' strong run. If Richarlison can hit form, he could be an absolute gem at his price. And then, of course, we've got the big man himself, Erling Haaland. Honestly, what can you say at this point? He's already got 6 goals in 5 matches, and he just looks unstoppable again this season. Even when City aren't at their best, he finds ways to score, whether it's poaching inside the box, running in behind, or just bullying defenders with his physicality. He's currently yellow flagged, but I'm not too worried about that. With City at home to Burnley this week, it feels like the perfect fixture to just slap the captain's armband on him and not overthink it. Haaland is Haaland, simple as that. If you go without him, you're playing with fire. And I don't see a reason to take that risk on a wild card. He's locked in. Quick word on the bench before we wrap things up. First off, we've got Dubravka as the 4.0 million backup keeper. Nothing fancy here. He's just doing exactly what I want him to do. Sit there, come in if absolutely needed, and free up funds for the rest of the squad. Then we've got Gyökeres, and honestly, this one's exciting. I wanted some offensive Arsenal coverage because their fixtures coming up are just too good to ignore. He's their starting striker, he's been finding the net already, and he should get plenty of chances in that attack. That being said, Newcastle have looked rock solid defensively, so I'll keep him benched this week, but he's definitely a long-term piece of this wildcard draft. Next is Senesi from Bournemouth. Now this one I really like. Bournemouth looked like a proper team this season, not just scraping by, and Senesi is a defender who's not only solid at the back, but also has some attacking threat. For his price, I think he's a brilliant option, and he'll rotate into my side depending on fixtures. And lastly, we've got Goodmanson from Leeds. This is basically just a cheap 4.0 million enabler pick. I switched him in for Esteve really just to move some funds around. He's not going to be starting most weeks, but he frees up the structure for the rest of the team, which is exactly what you need from your budget defenders. And that's the wildcard draft locked in, guys. Honestly, I feel like this is the reset I needed. The Villa lads were driving me absolutely mad, and instead of bleeding transfers week after week, it just made sense to pull the trigger now. I've got a structure I like, I've got players from the teams with good fixture swings, and I feel like I'm set up really nicely for the weeks ahead. Of course, it's still FPL, so we all know there's about a 90% chance one of these players gets injured on international duty, and I'm tilting by next Friday. But that's part of the fun, right? Let me know down below if you're also on Wildcard this week, and who you've gone for. Maybe you've spotted a hidden gem I've missed. And if you've actually managed to hold your nerve and save it for later, fair play, because I had absolutely zero patience left. Anyway, if you enjoyed the video, make sure to give it a like, subscribe if you haven't already, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss the next one. Good luck in Game Week 5, may your punts pay off, and let's hope this wild card actually saves my season. Catch you guys in the next one.